Lakshmanarayana sir for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwin. So now we'll go to the main program today now. So I request now Dr. Suresh, please start your session.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Vananda. First and foremost, I would like to thank the IEEE Vizag section for inviting me to deliver a lecture on impact of electric vehicles in smart grid applications. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you for organizing such events to the budding engineers. So without delay, I will start my session. So today we are going to see the scope. What is the scope of EV in smart grid performance? Okay. So here we are going to see what are the limitations of present smart grid, as well as we are going to see what are all the essential elements required in smart grid applications. Then we will see what are the policies we are having, and we are also going to see NSGM three-tier structure, how the implementation will be. Then we are also going to see VTX technologies, vehicle to grid technologies, and vehicle to home, how it can be implemented. Okay. So first, in the Indian context, the main motto of a smart grid is accelerated electrification of clean transportation, charging infrastructure, and 21st century electric grid are the key contributors. Clean transportation, charging infrastructure, and 21st century electric grid. These three things are main key contributors for the security, environment, clean environment, and clean air objective. Okay, my main motto is to get the clean air, to get the clean environment, and secured power. For that one, I'm having key contributors are transportation, clean transportation, charging infrastructure, and 21st century electric grid. So my entire topic will be relies on this. Okay. Now, as per National Electricity Mobility Plan, NEMP, Government of India is aims to achieve national fuel security by promoting hybrid vehicles. Okay. And it is targeting 6 to 7 million sales. They have also initialized under NEMP, there is a FAME India scheme is there, fast adaptation of manufacturing hybrid electric vehicles. There is a FAME India scheme is there. Already first phase is completed. Now second phase is going on. We are going to see that also. So the government of India has initiated this, and they have planned and they have targeted a 6 to 7 million sales of hybrid vehicle. Okay. And in that aspect, so they have created NSGM, National Smart Grid Mission. So the main primary motivation of NSGM is the main grid modernization should happen. That means we need to make the present dumb grid into a smart grid. So towards that, they have moved one more step. In that smart grid application, they want to involve renewable generation of 175 gigawatt by 2022. In that, they are supporting solar rooftop solar as well as grid connected solar systems. From solar, it is of 100 gigawatt and 60 gigawatt from wind and 10 gigawatt from bio, 5 gigawatt from small hydro. That's what they are targeting. Finally, the main aim is reduction in the greenhouse emissions. Reduction in the greenhouse emissions and improving the air quality. So my main target is reducing greenhouse. That means clean environment I'm targeting, clean air I'm targeting with a secure power. Okay. So now we'll see the scope. Coming to the scope, if you consider transmission distribution infrastructure, it connects, one side is I'm having consumers, and other side is I have generation is there. In the middle, we are considering DGs into the system, distributed generation. It play a vital role. Okay, and what it involves, I'm going to explain in the further slides. And coming to the scope of EVs, the government of India is targeting acceleration and development of various electric vehicles to substantially reduce the petroleum consumption. That means to improve the air quality actually. So what is smart grid? Just one word. So I'm using information technology and communication technology. So information technology and communication technology combinedly, I'm merging these two technologies with the present energy systems. Okay, so what it means is, so present there is here, if you see, I'm having generation, transmission and distribution is there. So this is the present technology. So what I'm doing, I'm using my information and communication technology in such a way that I'm merging both energy network with the information and communication networks. So by merging these two, I can achieve real-time simulation is possible because I have throughout my network, I'm having sensors. Okay, it is digital in nature. It is the sensors are there throughout the network because I'm using networks, the protocols. Okay, you might be knowing. So communication networks I'm using into the system in such a way that I can do real-time simulation throughout the network. By using so, the wide area reliability will be improved. The reliability is improved throughout the network. Then network optimization is possible because so it is fully automated system. The smart grid will be coming into fully automated. So network optimization is possible. So I can optimize the entire network from generation to till the distribution end. I can do the network optimization. By doing so, by increasing the reliability, optimization is network optimization is improved, real-time simulation is possible. I can attract more customers, like stakeholders participation will be very active. And not only that, by doing so, the energy will be improved, our efficiency will be improved, and A&T losses will be reduced. So I can participate in the energy markets. So this is what the advantages by merging information technology and communication technology with my existing energy networks. So earlier, as you know, conventional grid was purely mechanical. It was one-way communication, and centralized generation was there. There were only few sensors were there. If any fault was happened, you have to do it manually. Okay, and there were chances of faults and blockouts. It was limited control. But whereas now in the smart grid, what we are targeting is, it's not a mechanical, electromechanical. It is a digital in nature. So earlier it was one-way communication. Only power was flowing. We used to see. Now we can see how much power has flown. Okay, what is the voltage? What is the current level? What is the frequency? So how much amount of real power is there? How much amount of reactive power? Each and every entity I can find out at each and remote terminal unit, and wherever I want, every field terminals I can find out. It's a two-way communication. So I can find out all the parameters. I can maintain my grid within the limits. And as I said, now in the smart grid, throughout the network, what I'm doing is I'm using the DGs in the system. By using DG, whenever the peak demand is there, okay, so there is no need of going for, if suppose demand is increased, there is no need of going for new power plants. There is no burden on the system. With the help of DGs, I can share some amount of demand response will be improved. Okay, and earlier it was very few sensors were there. Now throughout the network I'm using the sensors, so it is self-monitoring and self-healing network. It is adaptive in nature, and the controlling is perfectly good. Okay, that is the reason it is choice for many of the customers. So just in a brief, I want to show you. Earlier, here if you see, one is power flow, second one is information flow. A thick line shows the power flow. Earlier, it was a power was generated through conventional energy sources, and it was transmitted and it is distributed in the network. So earlier it was past generation was our past electric grid was, there was an operator was there, telephone operator. He used to call and understand what was the generation, what is the load, and how much amount of demand is there, how much amount is transmitted, what are all the losses. He used to find out through manually. It was like telephonic way. But now in the present situation, we are upgraded to SCADA systems. Now what we are using? Supervisory controlling and data acquisition networks. So to the earlier conventional system, here we are using non-conventional energy sources in the present situation. So along with PVs, wind we have considered. Not only at the generation level, we have also considered at the distribution level, rooftop PVs are there, and there is a now people are slowly considering EVs also. Okay, so here the controlling is fine. But now in the future smart grid, what we are going to concentrate is to the present conventional non-conventional energy sources. We are also considering there is, you see, at transmission level charging infrastructure, EV charging infrastructures we are providing. At distribution level, charging infrastructures throughout the network, charging infrastructures we are aiming. That's what in the first slide I told you. The clean transportation, charging infrastructure, 21st century smart grid, electric grid. So that's why we are also concentrating on charging infrastructure throughout the network from generation to till distribution. Okay? And one more thing, not only that, storage we are also concentrating on in the smart grid. We are also concentrating on if any excess power is there, if any that has to be stored. So we are also concentrating on battery energy storage systems, BESS devices. Okay, at the transmission level and at distribution level also we are considering battery along with charging infrastructure. In the smart grid we are also considering, we are also targeting the storage. If you observe at distribution, you can see here rooftop PV along with EVs. Okay, so here improvement is, in the present situation improvement is rooftop PV and EV. In the future the improvement is fully automated. It's not only limited with only distribution level, even middle there are charging infrastructures are there. So from there I can connect it into vehicle to grid application can be done. I will explain you what it is. Then storage also we are considering. Now this is what we have seen, present how, past how it was, and present how the situation is now. So these are the limitations. Present grid limitations are consumers lack of information, utilities lack mechanisms to influence the consumer behavior, and limited clean power, limited storage. Consumers, main thing is consumers are lack of information, what technology is available. Okay, so what are the standards? Their lack of information. Second one is whatever the utilities we are having, these are lack of mechanism to influence the consumer behavior. Limited clean power, limited storage. So my essential elements of the smart grid should be, I need to see about, I need to maintain the efficiency, energy efficiency, demand side management I have to do. I need to maintain the grid intelligence has to be maintained. SCADA systems, like by providing ICT, information and communication technology has to be considered. Clean power, EVs, EV storage. Okay, so I will go a little bit fast. Skip this, this is not required. Now, coming to here, in the smart grid, if I consider, as I said, here if you see in the foundation, we are going to see circuit topology wise. We are going to upgrade the present energy network into a smart network. That is the reason in the circuit level I need to change. That means gas substations, GI substation has to be considered. Okay, and the feeders, smart meters, phase measuring units. Okay, that means I'm going to consider circuit topology. We need in the smart grid, we are going to consider, first thing is automated substations I'm considering along with smart meters, power quality measurement units, phase measuring measurement units. Okay, so advanced the smart meters circuit topology has to be considered. Second thing is coming to networks. As I said, information technology, communication technology we are using. So in WAN, wide area network, we are considering telecommunication infrastructure. So we are going to use the recent advancements need to be considered here, and even IT infrastructure also, IT and communication networks, recent advancements we are considering in such a way that I can get the two-way communication in a better way. By considering these circuit changes, information and communication changes, by merging these three, so fundamental applications what I'm having is, so what we have, what I will get is demand response, microgrid, operational efficiency can be done. So here I'm having providing, as I said, smart meters, data management system, distribution automation, distribution management system, everything can be done. So that's the reason future enabled applications are smart home application, plug-in electric vehicles, energy storage, DGs, reactive power compensation applications. These are all the things that comes under. Okay. Mainly future will be utility level. It will be demand response, microgrid operation, and efficiency. We are concentrating. This is what mainly in the future grid we are targeting. Circuit topology, and second one is information and communication technology. New recent advancements we are providing in such a way that to enable all these applications. Okay, so that's the reason smart grid policy priorities are wide area situational awareness I want to provide, because why we need to provide wide area situational awareness is consumers are lack of information. So I need to provide wide area situational awareness. Then demand response I need to see, electric storage and clean transportation. These are my main priorities. Now, what are the benefits of using electric vehicles, sir? If you consider electric vehicles, it can save more than 70% on fuel costs. How it is, I will explain you. I'll go a little bit fast. On driving vehicle, electric vehicles, the clear air or clean air will be there compared to IC engines. It will be independent. We are not depending on any crude oils, and we will have the satisfaction. Now, if you see here, different type of electric vehicles we are having. There are plug-in electric vehicles are there. Extended range of electric vehicles are there. Fully battery oriented are there. Fully battery electric vehicles are there. On an average, one time of full charge, you can travel up to minimum of 350 miles, in the sense up to 450 or 500 kilometers you can travel for one full charge. So how much time it will take? We need to see what is the charging infrastructure I'm having. I'm having two types of charging infrastructures. One is AC, second one is DC. Obviously, DC is very faster charging. So I'm having in the AC, there are again three options I'm having. At home level, you can charge. Fleet is nothing but group of vehicles. Maybe 5 to 10 vehicles, maybe more than that, even 100 vehicles. At home, in the sense, if you have a business, 10 vehicles you can do as a fleet. For one organization, it may be 100 vehicles, fleet, or public use. So AC charging is available at three places. It may be home, fleet in the sense group of vehicles. It may be at home, maybe at your workplace. Okay, or public uses. It is possible. Now, whereas DC fast charging is definitely, it is for mostly will go for public and large fleet. Reason is it is little bit costly. Now, if I go for AC, first one, if you observe here, level 1 charging, there is a level 2 charging is there. In DC also there are two levels are there. First one we will see, in level 1 charging, if I consider power rating is 120 volts, 1.4 kilowatt, 12 ampere, or 1.9 kilowatt or 16 amperes, for 1 hour of charge. For 1 hour of charge, up to 5 miles I can go. That means up to 8 to 9 kilometers I can travel. If I want to go for 100 kilometers, you see how many hours I need to charge for low level of voltage levels and power ratings. But if I consider 240 volts, 19.2 kilowatt, for 1 hour of charge, you can travel up to 60 miles. What is meant by 60 miles? 60 into 1.6. 1.6. Approximately 90 kilometers I can travel. 1 hour charge, 90 kilometers. For 240 volts, 19.2 kilowatt I'm talking. So, if I want to travel for 500 kilometers, approximately 5 hours need of one night charging is required for 500 kilometers of travel. If it is 240 volts, 19.2 kilowatt. But if I consider DC charging, 200 to 500 volts, 40 kilowatt. If I consider 40 kilowatt, up to I can go 120 miles per hour. Per hour of charge, 120 miles. 120 into 1.6, you see, more than 180 kilometers or 190 kilometers. Okay, 1 hour charge, up to 200 kilometers I can go. So if I charge for 2.5 hours, what will happen? I can go for 500 kilometers. DC fast charging. That's the reason DC fast charging ratings. Now, if I consider highest rating, let us consider. That's the reason it is available only. It is available only for public use. That's the reason I need to target charging infrastructure. Government need to target charging infrastructure. So they are going to provide that. Now 200 volts to 500 volts, 100 kilowatt, 200 amperes. If I provide this rating, if I able to provide 100 kilowatt for 1 hour of charge, it can go up to 300 miles. That means 450 to 500 kilometers. If I want to travel, 1 hour charge is enough. So you see, based on level of charging, that's the reason people will ask, one day if I charge, then only I can go for 100 kilometers. No. What level you are charging? What is the rating of your charging infrastructure? It matters a lot. If your charging infrastructure at household, if you are doing, yes, for a overnight, some 100 kilometers or maybe 200 kilometers you can go for a regular travel. Whereas at your organization, if you have EV-PV integration, then if you are able to provide level 2 charging, 19.2 kilowatt, morning if you go and night till evening if you charge 5 hours of charge, entire week it will be sufficient for you for a regular use. So that's the reason. So level 1 charging low voltages, it need more time to charge, whereas high level of charging, if I consider, for it will be lesser time, you can travel for longer distance. So this is what how the charging infrastructure is now. That's what I'm talking. Not only just here, you see, they have started with just EV charging, normal charging, the traditional conventional EV charging. They have started Tata, but now people are targeting not just traditional EV charging, they are considering EV along with PV integration. What it means? When there is sun is there, PV will be charged first. It will try to give the power to your charging infrastructure. That means some amount of burden will be reduced on the grid. Some amount of burden I'm reducing here on the grid. So if I do EV PV integration, I can share some amount of demand response. I can say that. Okay. So EV PV integration, now people are working. This is the thrust area. So this is the way people are doing integration. Now here the options will be there. Power is present or not. Is it ready to charge or not? Vehicle is connected or not? Here if you observe, vehicle is charging or not. If there is any problem, everything will be shown. Zero emission if you observe here. Okay. Now, already I have explained you charging locations are, it may be home charging, destination charging at your workplace, opportunity charging. Opportunity is, it is public usage. You may call it as, okay. 3 types of charging. Already I have shown you how it will be. Now, common myths are there. People will call, say like, plug-in vehicles can only support short trips, not the daily commutes. It's wrong. Based on your charging infrastructures, you can go for longer distances also. People will say like, it is not clean. Instead of burning gas, it is dirt power. It is, they may say, but IC engines will give more okay rather than electric vehicles. So electric vehicles will make your energy bill go up, but government is giving incentives for that. Okay. And one more thing, they will say like electric vehicles are far more expensive than average car. The fact is, Government of India has started one scheme. They are giving the incentives in such a way that for 3 years, 10,000 crores they have allotted as an incentive to purchase your vehicle. I will show you that. Now, there is a FAME India scheme is there. As I said earlier, under National Electricity of Mobility Plan, NEMP, they have initiated it. The main target is adaptation of and manufacturing of hybrid electric vehicles. Okay. So they have started it in the year of 2013. They have initiated it. But the thing is, implementation was happened in 2015. Okay. And the budget allotted is 10,000 crores. You see here, budget allotted is 10,000 crores for 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, even buses. Okay. On an average, for a 2-wheeler, approximately they are giving 25,000, minimum of 25,000 they are giving. Or some vehicles they are giving even up to 70,000 also. 60,000, I will give you the details also. And whereas cars, if I consider, up to 1 lakh, 2 lakhs they are giving. Whereas buses, 4 to 5 lakhs they are giving. I will show you the details, okay, under this plan. But frankly speaking, out of 10,000 crores, they have utilized, the amount is roughly 300 crores. I will give you the details. That's what I told you. 2011 they started, but unveiled in 2013. Okay. Initially they have started in the year of, then after that commencing was happened 2015, and they have extended, they dragged up to 2019. Okay. So under that, they have considered hybrid, mild hybrid, strong hybrid, plug-in hybrid. So different vehicles they have considered. And 137 approximately, there are 137 models were there. I believe 137 models were there, and there are 30 manufacturers are there under this FAME India scheme. First scheme, there were 30 manufacturers, different companies were participated, and 137 models are available under this scheme. Okay, but as I said, till now, total incentive amount disbursed was 359 crores only. They targeted for 6 million vehicles. Here 2.8 lakh vehicles only, 2,80,000 vehicles only were sold under FAME 1 scheme, FAME India first scheme. Out of 10,000 crores, 360 crores or 359 crores was utilized. Remaining 9,600 crores or 650 crores, it has gone to some other schemes. With the help of this, we can reduce the carbon emission. You see here, the number is 2 lakh under the FAME 1 scheme, 2,66,802 vehicles. You see Andhra, 9,676 vehicles were purchased under FAME 1 scheme up to 2019. I'm talking up to 2019. These are the vehicle numbers, electric vehicles which are available in India, are purchased under FAME 1 scheme. So how much we have saved the fuel, you see, per day 52,000 liters. Per day 52,000 liters I am saving, and carbon reduction is per day is, you see. Now, as I said, FAME 1 scheme was completed in the year of March 2019. So from the financial year of 2019, 1st April 2019, FAME 2 has started, or FAME India scheme phase 2 has started. Again, they had given 10,000 crores for a period of 3 years. What they are targeting? They are targeting 7,000 buses, 5 lakh 3-wheelers, autos, 55,000 4-wheelers, and 10 lakh 2-wheelers. They are targeting, they want to give incentives. Their main motto is, why they are giving this much? Reason is, they want clean air, clean transportation. The main reason behind these schemes are, whereas petrol is increasing like anything, here they are giving full incentives in such a way that the government is encouraging the people to buy electric vehicles. Here you see 10 lakh 2-wheelers, their aim is to give the incentives for 10 lakh 2-wheelers, 7,000 buses, 5 lakh 3-wheelers like autos, 55,000 4-wheelers. This is what they target. But unfortunately, till today, how much they have purchased is, again, in this 60 models are available. Okay, and total number of vehicles sold are, this is old data, now this is the new data. Total number of vehicles sold are 89,000 till date. That means 2019 to 20 completed, 21, you see almost 2 years completed. In 2 years, 3 years plan it is. 3 years plan. In a 3 years plan, they have targeted more than 10 lakh, 11 lakh vehicles they have targeted and given 10,000 crores. But vehicles purchased are 89,948. That is the reason consumers lack of information. Consumers lack of information. What the incentives provided by Government of India? What are all the schemes available? Okay, now under this FAME India 2 scheme, after 2019, 3,400 vehicles were purchased by Andhra people. Okay. if you want. This is so total number of incentives. This one. This is what they have till now. 71 crores amount only was spent. Okay, in under 2. Now, why government is going for EVs? The reason is, as I said, clean air objective and secure power, clean transportation. Now, what are the facilities I'm having? So by considering this, what I will achieve? What I will achieve is, I can do V2X technologies is possible. Smart charging is possible. What is V2X? Vehicle to grid is possible. I can connect. Vehicle to load it is possible. Vehicle to vehicle I can connect. Vehicle to home I can. And whereas out of which vehicle to grid is a bidirectional, grid to vehicle is possible, vehicle to vehicle bidirectional, and vehicle to home also bidirectional. Home to vehicle is possible, vehicle to home is possible, but vehicle to load is unidirectional. Okay, now here, but if I want to connect my vehicle to the grid, it is not a single vehicle, it's a group of vehicles will be, I will show you 1 minute and I will come back. A group of vehicles aggregated together and it will be connected to a grid. It's not single vehicle, not possible. And again, not only group of vehicles connecting, there are DC-DC converters will be used and inverter topologies will be used in such a way that they will increase the power capability or increase the voltage levels and they will feed the power into a grid. So to feed the power vehicle to grid, if I want to connect vehicle to grid, not one-to-one connection, it is many to one. Whereas grid to vehicle, one-to-one is possible. I hope you understand. Vehicle to grid is many to one. Grid to vehicle is one-to-one is possible, one to many is possible. Okay. Now you see here, what is the advantages is. So if I consider vehicle to grid, group of vehicles, if I consider more number of vehicles, government has considered, and suppose night time, you take Ola, suppose they are given incentives, one company, one person is running, some 1,000 vehicles I had given from government of India, they have taken. Night time, there is no, like other work is there. Then I will consider EV PV integration, like where I am parking my vehicle, there I will consider PV rooftop. And all I will consider, what I will do is, I will connect the vehicle, surplus amount of energy is there. I will connect it into from EV, PV, I will connect it to the grid also possible. Or EV, PV, I can connect it to the building. I will show you that. So here, what is possible is vehicle to grid if I connect, it is highly independent. I'm reducing the peak power demand. Whenever the peak power demand is there, I'm reducing it. And I'm decreasing the investment on new power plants. No need of going for new power plants. And by doing so, I can generate revenues and I can participate in the wholesale market. Understood? I can reduce the power demand. There is no need of investment in the new power plant. So burden will be reduced for the government. Second one, by connecting these things, the wholesale power market I can participate and I can generate the revenue. Suppose if I take a loan from government and by connecting it to the grid, I can repay back by giving some amount of power to the grid. That is the concept. And second one is, I can enhance the grid stability, reliability, and security will be improved. So that's what my target. Grid stability I need to maintain, reliability and secured power I want to provide, and better integration with the renewable source. That's what I told you. EV PV integration can be possible. Now, if I go with the vehicle to load, suppose let us consider there is some place will be there where isolated area, some building you are constructing where there is no power at all. There is no chance of getting power line there. So there you can take your vehicle. You can provide vehicle to load. That means when there is an emergency power is required, it will work as a generator when there is an outage. It is highly independent. It can be provide power in the remote sites. Vehicle to home, green you can see. If I want to connect vehicle to home, home to vehicle is possible, but vehicle to home if I consider highly independent and it acts as a generator when there is outage. and it is better integration with the renewable source. That means EV, PV I can connect, self-consumption, I can generate the revenues also. So vehicle to vehicle, when it is possible is, suppose there is no charging infrastructure nearby. The vehicle is suddenly stopped somewhere. So I can help other EVs in such a way that, like, I can take and I can directly connect vehicle to vehicle. Okay, the self-consumption and efficient EV marketing is possible. Now, so if I want to connect vehicle to grid or vehicle to home, here a converter play a major role. If I want to connect, it is group of vehicles. Vehicle to grid, if I consider many to one. Grid to vehicle, as I said, is 1 to 1 or 1 to many. Okay, now here, while considering, I need to see the power rating of a vehicles, group of vehicles. Then DC-DC converter, the perfect DC-DC converters I need to consider. Bidirectional DC-DC converter has to be considered, which will suit for that power. Then suitable inverter has to be considered. Then I need to connect. So here people can work on inverter topologies and converter topologies. You can understand. And in the same way, if I replace grid with home, I can replace grid with the home, but here rating might be little bit lesser because only one electric vehicle, even 2-3 vehicles. As I said, there is a fleet at home. If you have 5 or 6 vehicles are there, so even you can consider vehicle to home also, it is possible. But vehicle to vehicle, that is not required. But whereas vehicle to load, if it is an AC load, inverter is required and converter. If it is a DC load, direct connection is possible or one converter is required. Okay, this is what. Now, so by considering electric vehicles at transmission level or generation level, so I'm enabling smart grid operation. Try to understand. So if I consider electric vehicles into the grid, smart grid application I'm enabling. If I consider, if suppose in your apartment, all the people are having EVs, and if you have a rooftop PVs there I can enable smart apartment or smart building, I can say. One is I can enable the application of smart home application can be done, LV network. Here you see there is a smart building application, parking lot. If it is a residential area, smart home. If it's a building, smart building or smart apartment application also I can enable. So that's what, if I have the clean power with me, it may be EV or PV. So smart building, smart home, or smart apartment, smart grid. So there are several applications are there. I can encourage clean power or clean air objective. This is what. So if I consider unidirectional, bidirectional vehicle to grid applications, mainly my objectives are services I can provide is spinning reserve, grid regulation I can maintain, peak shaving is possible. That means I'm load leveling I can do, and reactive power compensation is possible. Okay, and renewable energy. By considering all these parameters, what I can do is load profile optimization is possible. By doing load profile optimization, what I'm doing, I'm sharing some amount of load. By sharing some amount of load, no need to go for investment on new power plants. So there is a cost is minimized on the investment. By considering more number of EV and PV systems, carbon emission will be minimized as well as revenue will be maximized. So by considering EVs and PVs, load profile I'm doing the optimize. That means demand side management I'm doing. I'm doing the demand response I'm doing. At the same time, I'm sharing some amount of load through EVs and PVs in such a way that cost will be minimized, carbon emissions will be minimized, revenue will be maximized. The reason here is losses are minimized. So that's the reason cost and efficiency optimization is possible. Cost and emission optimization is possible. System reliability will be improved. So these are all the optimization objectives. But so there are some constraints are there. What is that constraints are? Driver behavior is important, charging and discharging rate, state of charge, how it is, how the limitation, aggregation decisions, electricity rate, system balance. There are certain constraints are there. If you're able to maintain that constraints, these objectives I can meet. Okay, this is what I told you. So power sources, renewable and non-energy sources. In the middle, as I said, first line, as I said, transmission distribution. One side I'm connecting to generation. Second side I'm having load is there. In between DGs I have considered. This is what distributed generation. So in that my EVs, PV play a vital role. Okay, that's what a smart grid application, smart home, smart building application like this I can consider. Now, there's no time. Even electric energy storage technologies, it play a vital role in EV or PVs, battery energy storage systems. It may be mechanical, electrochemical, electrical, thermochemical, chemical, thermal. So there are different type of energy storage systems are there. So the performance of EV or PV basically depends upon what type of converters you are using as well as what type of storage devices you are considering for these systems. That play a significant role. Okay, so this one people can work. Now you see, if it is a battery powered EV, only batteries, one converter we are using, then inverter topology, motor. Whereas hybrid plug-in vehicle. So first I have shown you battery enabled EVs, hybrid also I have shown you that. Now if I see hybrid, one is IC engine, through the IC engine generator, DC-DC converter, inverter. So one time through fuel tank IC engine, starting my vehicle. Another is, it's a combination of hybrid vehicle is, one is battery, second side is IC engine. So series parallel connection I am considering. Okay. Initially I will turn on my vehicle with a fuel, then I will turn on my vehicle with battery. Okay. These are examples for hybrid vehicles. Okay. But when vehicle to grid is possible, when grid to vehicle I need to go is based on time, how much time, expected time of arrival, expected time of departure, as well as state of charge. That matters a lot. Okay, so this is what I have shown you now. So the connectivity, electrification, autonomous driving, diverse mobility. These are the key factors while considering, because time is running. I don't want to waste your time. I want to stick with the time. So when you consider this technology, we need to see the connectivity issues play a vital role, because if you are going along, we need to see how the mobility is. Okay, diverse mobility I need to observe. Electrification, charging infrastructure is available or not, how far it will be. Okay, so we need to see all these things. No, there are some detected barriers are there. What it is: market and regulation, technology development, user engagement. First thing, rules and business. Rules and business process must be clear. There is no clear rules are there till date. Limited coordination between the stakeholders and the companies. These are the main things. And more subsidies are required. This is what the market regulations coming to. Coming to technology, we need to work on battery degradation. We also need to work on the uniform communication protocols. Now, non-uniform communication protocols are there. What it means is, there are 60 manufacturers have come initially. 137 vehicles are there. Different ratings are there. If you go through the FAME India scheme website, you can observe that the ratings are different. There is no uniform communication protocols. Okay, lack of standardization. So we need to maintain the standards for the vehicles, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheelers, and uniform communication protocols has to be considered. And EV full charge availability, we need to see. We need to provide the awareness about EV, PV technologies. Okay. So finally, what is the smart grid vision for India is transforming Indian power sector into a secure, adaptive, sustainable, and digital enabled ecosystem. What it is? Secured power. It should be adaptive in nature. Adaptive in the sense, if suppose if I consider a regular grid connected, automatically I am having one more source. There should not be any instability, or there should not be any peak shaving issues. So that's the reason my generating networks, DG, should be adaptive. Or how it should be? I need to consider more number of DGs, includes EVs, PVs, battery storage systems. Okay, and secure power I want, adaptive in nature. It should be sustainable for longer generations. If I provide one technology, it should be sustainable for the future, like at least 20-30 years. It should be sustainable, and it should be digitally enabled system people want. So smart grid vision is secure, adaptive, and sustainable and digitally enabled ecosystem, which can able to provide reliable and quality energy. People are expecting reliable and quality energy from all the stakeholders. For that one, to complete in 5 minutes, for that one, what India has done is we have created National Smart Grid Mission. There is a three-tier structure is there. Under that, in the three-tier, the main heading body is governing council is Ministry of Power will be the tier 1. Under the Ministry of Power, the central ministry, tier 2, there is two committees will be there. One is an empowered committee, second is technical committee. The technical committee will be chaired by a chairperson of a CEA, that means Power Grid Director, and the empowered committee will be chaired by Secretary of Ministry of Power. Okay, in the tier 1, it comes under Ministry of Power, NSGM, National Smart Grid Mission. There is an empowered committee is there. The finance will take care of by Secretary. Technical issues will be taken care by Director of Power Grid. Now, under that person, Type 3 implementation, NSGM project management unit is available. Under that, there are 4 main units are there. One is policies, planning, monitoring unit. What are the policies I need to consider? As I told you, smart grid policy priorities I have shown you: wide area awareness, demand response, clean air, energy storage. So what policies I need to consider? If I consider that particular policy, is it secure? Is it adaptive? Okay, is it sustainable? Is it digitally enabled or not? People has to see. That is the reason. What policies I need to implement? Where I am implementing? What is the location? And to implement that policy, what planning I should have? What measures I need to consider? And one more thing, monitoring unit. So the policy, planning, monitoring unit is there, one cell. Second cell will take care about, the first one is circuit topology. Second one is data management and cyber security, which will take care the information and communication network. That means I'm merging energy network with one graph I have shown you. Circuit topology will be taken care by first unit, policy and planning. Second one, information and communication technology will be taken care by data management and cyber security unit. Now, R&D, technology and standard units are there. See, whenever if I want to implement recent advancement, there is a research and development is required. So there is one unit is there in consultation with Smart Grid Knowledge Center is there in Manesar. In connection with these people, so there is R&D, technology is there, and BIS standards they need to follow. Okay, they need to follow. It's not like just recent advancement I need to implement. This is proper standards are available. So are they following or not? So one unit particularly look after what research is going on, what are the developments, and they have started some pilot projects. For that one, under R&D, they have started 11 pilot projects and one knowledge center they have started. So first they will implement under pilot level, small scale. Then they have targeted after 11 pilot projects, they have implemented they have completed all the things completed. Under that, they have considered power quality improvement, demand management, smart meters, automatic building. So everything they have considered. Okay. Then they started implementing 5 main smart grid projects also they have considered. So R&D play a major role. Under that, they have started pilot projects and main projects also they have started in 5 areas. Then there is projects training capacity building unit is there. Okay. So now after this comes to state level. State level management unit. Everything is central level. Now coming to state level, it will be chaired by State Secretary of Power. Under that, distributed utilities will be there. DISCOMs, distributed companies. Then smart grid cell will be there. There are consumers, local bodies will be there. Now what will happen? Now we need to implement all these policies. This is central level they have seen. Now state level, I need to see how the functionalities. What are the barriers? Then in consultation with this empowered committee, technical committee, the people will see the sustainability. This is what the scope. Nation Smart. Okay. I hope running. Right. Okay. So my smart grid mission scope is deployment of smart meters, advanced metering infrastructure I want to keep, substation renovation and modernization. Okay. Development of distributed generation in the form of rooftop PVs, real-time monitoring of DTs. Throughout the network, harmonic filters I want to provide power quality improvement. Okay. And also, I want to consider development in the medium-sized microgrids. Okay. This is what my main aim. Thank you. This is the journey till date. Sorry. Thank you. This is what, because I heard in the starting itself, it's delayed. Last session was delayed. I don't want to continue more. Thank you. This is what the mission and vision of smart grid. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, actually, you can conclude it. Not a problem. Actually, you can take another.
No, sir. Starting itself, I heard that it was delayed last session.
No. That was different case. No, that was different, completely different case actually. Yeah.
When you heard starting itself something, I don't want to. Okay.
No,
Fine,
no.
sir.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll conclude. Okay.
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah. Participant, if you have any questions, you can post in chat box.
One
Meanwhile.
second. I'll visible, no slide.
Yeah, visible.
So what we have seen is here. So we have seen what is the objective of motivation in Indian context we have seen. Then after that, we have seen how to match, why to match the information technology with the energy network we have seen. Then we have seen past, present and future grid we have seen. Then the grid limitations and essential features of smart grid we have seen. Then after that, these are the future smart grid enabled applications and foundation, how it should change, how the information communication technology, what are the fundamental application, what are the enabled applications. Then we have seen types of EVs. Then what are the levels of charging infrastructure, AC and DC charging also we have seen, and integration of EV PV we have seen. Then there is a FAME India scheme is available with us. So under that 10,000 crores they are giving, now they have aimed for FAME India. 1 is completed, 2 is available. So these are vehicle to grid, V2X technologies, vehicle to grid, vehicle to load, vehicle to home, vehicle to vehicle is possible. These are the certain applications and advantages. So here DC-DC converters and inverter topologies play a vital role. Okay. So you can see smart grid application, smart home application, as well as smart building application we have seen here. Then there is grid services, optimization objectives are there, and batteries also play a vital role. So finally, what I want to tell you is, so there is a huge PV and smart grid performance. So the researchers can work on DC-DC converters, inverter topologies, as well as battery management system for smart grid, smart home, smart building applications. Okay. So these are the projects what I want to show you, just what implemented. It's completed, sir, already. There are 11 projects are available, pilot projects. What they have implemented, I thought of showing here. Okay. Advanced metering infrastructure, building, advanced automatically, peak load demand, power quality management, outage. So when they want to implement anything, first they will start small scale. Pilot project they have started. They have tried. Smart city, IIT Kanpur has started smart city. Actually, they have implemented almost all. And Manesar is the knowledge center. Okay. So our main mission is they want to plan and monitor the implementation of policies in the first level. That is the mission. Vision is to get the secured, adaptive, sustainable, and digitally enabled system for reliable power. But present mission is they're working on plan. They want to plan and monitor the implementation of policies, how it will be implemented in India. So under that one, they have started already. So that is the reason under that plan, they have allotted 980 crores. Okay, with the support of 338 crores were given for that projects, pilot projects. Okay, so but starting key challenges are there because we are lack of skills, the utilities lack of skill, initial response was not there from the industry, meters were delayed, and there are different specifications for that. But at present, current stage, yes, testing facilities have improved and interoperability issues, little bit is there, communication protocols, other things, then now they are adapting everything. Okay. Thank you. These are the opportunities what I'm having. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, sir. Over, sir, already.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your nice lecture, actually. And you have covered all the aspects of the EV and also recent development, particularly in the Indian scenario that you have covered. And even personally, I can see that a lot of, I can identify a lot of problem statements for research also, actually.
So
So
people
that's why,
work on it, sir, then it will be very
yeah.
good.
Yes, yes, yeah. Now I will stop the recording, sir. Now we will go with the next,